Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here, who's come to listen to my story, and to know that, just being here, being a part of Canadian history is phenomenal. To be a role model, to have influenced younger hurdlers, to be connected, to talk, knowing that I'm here. Well, I'm in Nebraska, but, with technology nowadays, you're just a phone call away. So just to be able to give back and help out has been phenomenal. I've had great competitors, some sitting right here in the room with me. We go over to Europe and you think like, when you're younger, you're looking back or looking forward and saying, there's other athletes, like they travel together, like how are they like so fierce in the track? And then when you go around, we're actually family. We travel around the circuit, we become like sisters, brothers, family members. So we go out there and we compete, we push each other, and I believe it's really special because I thought especially when you see the sprinters, you're like, you're in each other's heads. You're like, no, okay, yeah, when we're warming up, it's like, yeah, okay, hey, what's up, because, you're in your zone. And then once you get to racing, okay, nobody's talking to nobody because everyone's got their music in, they're dancing and getting ready to go. And then to have that moment where, all athletes, I think, have had this, especially for me, it's one of those special moments I've ever had in track, is to have that zone feeling where you don't hear anybody, you don't see anybody, you just know, for me, there's 10 hurdles, there's the gun that's gotta go, but I'm trying to get to that finish line, and to be in that zone and run and push is one of the coolest feelings as a track athlete, I find, because you're so focused. Every moment that you've put in, the blood, the sweat, the tears, it comes down to that moment, and win or lose, I always found that you have to be a good winner and you have to be a good loser. There's been times, believe you me, I have gone to smile. But God's timing for me, it's always been like that, and it always will be like that. And it goes back to me being 16 years old and starting in hurdles and making my first OFSA, not as a hurdler, but as a sprinter. And coach is telling me, you should go into track and field and get a coach, because I showed up, and some people know, but in my Tweety Bird shorts, and I thought it was pretty cool to show up and make OFSA final, which is state final for the Americans, and not have a coach, not have any gear, just raw talent. So when I got a coach, the coach told me I'd be a good hurdler. I laughed in his face, and another athlete, which Anthony was coaching at the time, Renee, she was beating me, and I was like, I was beating her last year. What's the deal? So that was why I became very determined. I'm going to work with Anthony, because he took this girl, and I was beating her in grade 9, and she started beating me in grade 10. I was like, okay. So I went up to him, and he told me, I'm not taking any more athletes. I'm not coaching anybody else. He had more guys at the time. Well, he's actually a female coach. Doesn't want to admit it, but went out there, and I was just very persistent. I want to have my head and my face in something, and I'm focused and I'm driven. I'm not backing down. I've had guys tell me I can't do stuff. I'll give you 2 quick stories, which is in the weight room. Was it grade 10 or 11, Anthony?
11.
Grade 11, a bunch of guys, some are grown men, but benching 225 pounds, and said, you can't do this, you're a girl. Oh, that's where they were wrong. So I went at it, and Anthony's there holding, spotting. And I get the power, and I'm like, okay, get it up, pull it down, get about halfway. He takes it, I'm like, dang it, right? So I'm like, okay, give me a second, let me focus. So I go back and I focus, and he's like, Priscilla, it's okay, you don't have to. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this. So I just came back, I was all regrouped, like most of us track athletes do. If something doesn't go the way we want it to, we go in the corner, we close our eyes, we focus. And that's where I realized, something was different. I had something in me that kind of helped me to separate myself from just anybody else. I was like, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna prove these guys wrong. So I get back to the same spot, take the bar, pull it up, get stuck right here. Anthony's about to grab the bar from me. I'm looking up at him, he's like, I'm like, don't you touch it. Threw it up, and he's like, oh my gosh. He stands back, I'm like, oh, toad. So, never benched 225 pounds again since, because, it made me too tight when I was running, honestly. And then, just whenever challenged me, guys in the blocks, I'm gonna beat you the first hurdle. I'm like, no, you're not. And that's why I think gave me determination, pushing myself against other people, other guys. And, having been going to college and being able to run and get a scholarship was huge, because nobody in my family graduated from college. So they had that and, make my parents proud. Went away, Anthony's like, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna come back, and you're not gonna know anybody, you're not gonna know me. I was like, oh, I'll call you. And I did, and he thought that he was able to retire from coaching when I was like 18. Now I'm like 33. You've been around for a while. But it's been great because I've met a lot of people along the way. Chris was, actually kind of similar story with Chris too. He was gonna be my agent, and then he never showed up to Europe and sent me over there. I was like a sheep in a wolf's den, and so all these agents are coming at me, and I'm like, they kind of got a point, he's not here. So it only took 1 year to realize that, and then same thing, had my focus and said, Chris, I think we can do something here, and we collaborated, and we've all become family. I think that's the key thing to a successful athlete, is to have somebody that you trust, somebody that believes in you and knows that you're capable of something, even before you know it or believe it or even see it in yourself. And that was Anthony, Desi, and Chris. And you guys all believed in me, even when times were up and down. And my parents have been huge supporters. They never pushed me to do something that I didn't want to do, but they were definitely behind me to push me when I needed it the most. So now I get to say thank you for everybody who has supported me, who has pushed me to be the athlete that I am, to be the role model, to have made a difference in Canadian sport. And I have 2 little hurdlers hopefully in the making. And proud to say that it's been amazing. I couldn't ask for a better career. There's always something, as an athlete that you want that you haven't got to get. And as I kind of just pointed it at me there, with my hands up. But they made a pretty good photo, right? So, in summing it all up, I just want to say, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for pushing me and supporting me and putting hurdles on the map. Because before Perdita, myself, Angela, there wasn't anybody in the hurdles, and we have Nikita, Felicia, Angela's with us, sorry. And I mean, there's just so many of you guys who are here and supporting, so thank you. Love you.
I know the press is keen to interview you at length, but I'm going to have 2 questions for you before we close. First question, when was that moment you realized that you could be top of the heap when it came to your event?
Yeah.
And secondly, we've heard about all your success, but tell us the lowest point in your career and what it took to get through that.
The lowest point for me definitely was 2012. Coming back after having my first child and only having a month with her to breastfeed her and take care of her, because everybody knows, you have a baby in September, time's clicking, you gotta keep going, you gotta go. So had that month, I gave up all that time, and I came back. I had the fastest time in Canada, I had the fastest time going into the finals. Everybody's like, you're a shoo-in, you're on the team. I've always in the back of my head, I never say, yes, I am, that's what's gonna happen, because I don't count, my chickens before they hatch. And I felt great. I mean, Anthony asked Desi, like my times, I was ready to go, I was excited. And I hit a hurdle with my lead and my trail leg. Don't ask me how. But it threw me out of my lane. I wasn't able to regroup myself enough to I still finished, but it wasn't where I needed to kind of be on the team. So that was probably the hardest part. But like I said, you have to be a good winner and a good loser, and that was a pretty hard time to be at Canadian Nationals, to not make the team knowing that, hey, what's going on here, Like, I give so much time, and Bronson and I drove out to Banff, which is beautiful, but just sobbing, like, how does everything lead up to this? And then, it was just like crash and burn. But I was being tested, and I walked off the track, just kind of going back a little bit, and a couple other people just walked off, didn't talk to you guys. And I was like, and there's a couple kids that came to me, can I get your autograph? Like, we're so, happy for you, like, good job. I'm like, no, not really. But I smiled at them, I took pictures, I talked with all you guys in the media, and I don't say things that I don't mean it. So I say you have to be a good winner, you have to be a good loser too, and you have to, say how it is. But, I gave it everything I had. Would I have hoped things went differently? Of course, but I wouldn't have had that summer with Natalia. I got to see her walk for the first time. I would have missed out on more special moments. So I think God was telling me, slow down. You're going too fast. You need to just enjoy certain things in life, and people will come at you, and everyone in this room is going through something. I can promise you that, whatever it is. But we have to know that it's going to get better. Things will get better, and it's going to be like this our whole life. But it's how we deal with the ups and the downs that makes us who we are. So that's kind of how I try to be a good role model for younger kids and tell them to believe in themselves and not to worry about the ups and the downs, but you have to pull yourself out. You're allowed to kind of have those moments where you're like, oh, I just want to leave me in this hole, like, I want to be alone. Because I remember the following week, Nikita and Felicia were like, dang, Priscilla, you are running. I'm like, I know, I just want to run more, but I ran off, and they're all warming up and doing their runs and their workouts, but I went, if anybody knows your university, it's all surrounded by trees. I ran up in that area, I don't know how long I was gone. You probably knew I was out there sobbing. I was up there for a while, I was crying and like kicking dirt, and it was like really, just sat there. Like I had my melting point, and it was hard. But then I came back up and I finished the workout, and that's what I needed, was that good release of, like why did that happen? But it did, and it didn't define me. I didn't let it. I came back and I was training, but then we moved. And where I moved, unfortunately, there's not like a good indoor training facility. If not, I probably would be racing tomorrow. Kristen can find me a pair of slides. So I've been giving back. I've been helping out, and two of my hurdlers actually went to state. So it was really cool to have that and be able to be, a role model and push these kids. And they're like, wow, like I just do 5 steps and I haven't warmed up. I haven't done drills. Like, you're going over the hurdles so quick. I'm like, it does feel easier right now. So you have to just enjoy everything. Take it with a grain of salt and know that it's not the end of the world. And that's how I felt. I went out there, excuse me, and I think I made the best of, took my lemons and made lemonade.